Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, hello, live streamers. We're here. We're with the Way of Truth, and we apologize. We're about 30 minutes late today because we have started doing Shabbat prayer before we actually start our study, and it went a little bit long today. And we have discovered we're going to have to carry a box of Clinics in there because we're hitting some real issues, and that's what prayer is all about: is healing, delivering, and cleaning out, right? Mm-hmm. So that means y'all's doing amazing work here, right? Mm-hmm. So we have submitted everything this morning to y'all, and we're just going to let him lead and guide us today. One thing that has always been a curiosity to me, and we're going to hit the question right off the bat, but my question has always been, wow, what?
Why?
My question has always been, why is the promised land called Canaan? Remember Canaan? Do y'all remember who Canaan was?
Mm-hmm.
Who was Canaan?
Son of
Ham.
Ham. Yeah.
And who got cursed by Noah? Canaan. Well, no, it's not Cain and Abel. It's Noah's son, Ham. His son was Canaan, and that's who Noah cursed. You know, when he imbibed a little bit too much wine and fell asleep, and there was an uncovering of his nakedness. He cursed Canaan. He didn't curse Ham, he cursed Canaan. So my big question has always been, why are they being sent to the promised land, and why is it called Canaan? Does anybody have any possible answers?
Well, what the devil means for evil, God turns around and uses it for good. I mean,
Yes, he does. He sure does.
It's a good case of, even though he was cursed, God said, I'm going to use it maybe. I don't know.
Okay, well, we're going to take a little stroll. And today we're going to be using, we're going to be going through Genesis 25 through Genesis 28:9. We're going to be in Malachi 1:1 through 2:7. We are also going to be using the book of Jubilees, and we're going to be in chapters 8, 9, and 10. And we are going to be using the book of Yasher, and we are going to be in chapters 25 through 28. So Maria's like, oh no, I'm gonna go get a snack. But guys, this is going to be an amazing study, I believe, because we've got lots of questions. Really, like, why in the world did Esau give away his birthright? I mean, he was the firstborn. Birthright was a big deal, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So we'll answer that later. But right now, I want y'all to, those of you who have the book of Jubilees, I want you to turn in it to Jubilees, I believe it's going to be 8. So we haven't done a lot of studying in Jubilees. It is an amazing book, and one day we are going to get into Jubilees. But you know, when we were reading all of the Torah portion for this week, I kept thinking, you know, there's something about the land. Why is it Canaan? Okay. First of all, in Jubilees 8, when Noah came off the ark with his 3 boys, after they had grown up for a while, what happened was Yahweh split the earth up amongst these 3 boys. Okay? And Shem got the good part. Okay? He got the part that wasn't hot and it wasn't cold. He really, I'm going to read this to you. And we do have a little visitor in here.
That's what I saw.
Get that off the screen there. Huh? Yep. When Noah divided up the land, Shem got the good part. His portion, let's see. Noah rejoiced. This is 10, verse 8:18. It says, Noah rejoiced with this portion when this portion came out for Shem, for his sons, and he remembered all that he had spoken with his mouth in prophecy. For he had said, Blessed be the Lord Yah of Shem, and may the Lord dwell in the dwelling of Shem. Okay, listen to this blessing, okay? He knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies. Where's the Holy of Holies?
The Garden of Eden.
It was in the temple, right? It was in the tabernacle in the wilderness, but it's in the temple where? On Mount Zion, on Mount Moriah, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies and the dwelling of the Lord. and Mount Sinai, the center of the desert, and Mount Zion, which is the center of the navel of the earth. So the very center of the world is Mount Zion. It's Jerusalem. These three were created as holy places facing each other. And he blessed the God of gods, the Elohim of Elohims, who had put the word of the Lord into his mouth, and the Lord forever. And he knew that a blessed portion and a blessing had come to Shem and his sons and to their generations forever, which was the whole land of Eden, and the whole land of the Red Sea, and the whole land of the east of India, and the Red Sea and the mountains of it, and all the land of Bashan, and all the land of Lebanon, and the islands of Kaftor, and all the mountains of Sinir and Amanah, and the mountains of Asher in the north, and all the land of Elam, Asher, Babel, part of Iraq, and Suzanne and Madai, and all the mountains of Ararat, and all the region beyond the sea. Do you see why Noah was so excited? So he drew lots for the land, kind of like rolling a dice or picking a name out of a hat. Shem got the choice piece. He got the middle land. Ham received all the hot land. So you go to the east of the promised land, and that's where Ham's land was. It wasn't in Israel, guys, okay? And then Japheth got all the land north. So what's north of
Turkey?
Israel? You would go up, actually probably more like Europe, Russia, all of that area. His land was very cold, and it was over to the east as well.
So Shem was the eldest.
I don't know whether
When
Shem was.
he born first?
There's talk about who was the eldest, but I don't know that Shem was actually the eldest. The way they lined it out here, you would say that he is, but I've read where he wasn't, so I don't know. But what we do know is that Shem got the choice property, which means he owned all of Israel. So how did it get to be called Canaan? Huh? See where we're going? Okay. Let's look at. Let's see.
Canaan stone.
Okay, after he divided the land up by lots to his three sons, then the three sons divided it up amongst their boys. So they divided it all amongst their children. And so here's Ham's portion. I want you to listen, because you're going to recognize all these names. Mm-hmm. Ham divided amongst his sons. The first portion came out for Cush towards the east, and the west of him for Mitzrayim, and to the west of him for Put, and to the west of him on the sea for Canaan. That's the sea of Canaan, okay? And we're not talking about Canaan, the land. So, Put, Mitzrayim, Cush, all of this is, well, Cush is part of Africa, isn't it? Right? I believe Cush is part of Africa. But you've got Egypt, you've got parts of Africa. This was Ham's land. Okay, I want you to now turn over to chapter 10 in Jubilees, in verse 29. And I want you to hear the rest of the story and why this land is called Canaan. Okay?
Jubilee what?
Jubilee chapter 10, verse 29, and we're going to read all the way down through 34. Okay. Canaan, Ham's son, saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Egypt was very good, and he did not go into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is to the sea, and he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward from the border of Jordan and from the border of the sea. Ham his father and Cush and Mitzrayim his brothers said to him, "You have settled in a land which is not yours, and which did not fall to us by lot. Do not do so. If you do, you and your sons will be conquered in the land and will be accursed through a war. By war you have settled, and by war will your children fall, and you will be rooted out forever. Do not live in the land of Shem." Okay, so he went in and he took over Shem's land. "Do not live in the land of Shem, for to Shem and to his sons did it come to them by lot. Cursed are you, and cursed would you be beyond all the sons of Noah by the curse by which we bound ourselves by an oath in the presence of the holy judge and in the presence of Noah our father. But he did not listen to them and settled in the land of Lebanon from Hamath to the border of Egypt, he and his sons until this day. For this reason that land is named Canaan." And Japheth and his sons went towards the sea and settled in the land of their portion. And Madai saw the land of the sea, and it did not please him. And he begged him and Asher and Arpachshad, his wife's brother, for a portion. And he dwelt in the land of Media near his wife's brother until this day. And he called his and his son's dwelling place Media, after the name of their father Madai. So before we even start into the Torah portion today, which is Toldot, which means what? Come on, it's on the board. Somebody cheat. Generations. So we're thank you. I thought I was gonna have to chuck a rock out there. Okay, so do you see now where the land of Canaan came from, and who was the bad boy that did it? Canaan.
Cain.
Okay, and who did the cursing of Canaan?
Yeah.
Noah.
No, I mean,
Noah.
Noah?
Okay.
Oh, for,
So this is a
for
further
water.
cursing, because look what his brothers just spoke
Yeah.
over him. So what we get from this, first of all, is the navel of the world, the very center of the earth. The apple of Yazah is where? Jerusalem.
Yeah.
It's Jerusalem.
And hadn't Noah already cursed him before this
Yes.
because of what had happened? So
Yes,
it was
that's
the
why-
second time.
Yes. So
Bad.
Noah first cursed him for what happened in his tent.
Right.
That
Making him say,
yes, and it was Canaan that he cursed,
right.
which was always
Not
like
Ham, but
it
Canaan.
wasn't him, it was
Isn't
Canaan.
that interesting?
I have
It
a
is.
question.
Yes, sir.
Lebanon, is that like Laban out of the Bible?
No,
It's not?
Laban lives in Armenia.
Okay.
And you saw the Christians when when persecution started with oh goodness, the word is slipping for me, when they started beheading.
What's his name?
It was they beheaded lots of Armenians.
Okay.
But when that started, that was in Armenia. And I'm going to tell you something. Armenia is some of the oldest true followers of the way. They're like us. They're keeping Torah.
They
They're
are today?
Yes. So this is the oldest line of true followers of Yeshua.
Oh.
But Lebanon, when you go to the very tip top of Israel, you're up around the Golan Heights. You look north and you're looking at Lebanon. You look right and you're looking into, I believe it's Syria.
Wow.
So, it's that close.
Wow.
When is Israel? I'm sorry. What, repeat that, I'm sorry.
At the top of Israel,
Correct.
of the nation of Israel,
Correct.
you're at the Golan Heights. And so you've got Lebanon and Syria.
That's why it's
She's been to Israel.
Ah,
well, that's why it's so
Mother-in-law.
we got to talk.
Yes.
I love Israel.
Well, that's why it's, you know, the Jewish state, and you have all these Arab states which hate the Jews, so Israel's just kind of, I don't know what I'm saying, but I think you understand what I'm saying.
I think I do.
But your mother-in-law,
Yeah,
your mother-in-law was,
ma'am?
your mother-in-law was.
Yeah,
here.
my ex-mother-in-law lived there for 8 years.
Yeah.
She was a
Oh,
missionary
wow.
work, and then had Americans
she's
come
got
stay
some-
with her, but I went there for 2 weeks.
Where did she live in Israel?
Jerusalem.
Okay.
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
Yeah, but I traveled around, and it was, yeah, real neat. But I don't mean to get off the topic.
Where was
but
your
just-
favorite? Where was your favorite area?
Wow, I went to the Dead Sea.
That wasn't
we
my
even
favorite.
stayed at a kibbutz.
Oh, how
Okay.
fun!
Kibbutz. Jerusalem was just so beautiful. So Austin
yeah.
reminds me a lot. But,
You see the big, huge olive tree?
yeah.
She went to the garden.
Yes.
Oh,
It was. I was like 22, and I told Miss Valerie, I
Oh,
said, "Wish I
wow.
was older, I would have appreciated it more."
but it will come back to you.
Absolutely.
It will.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
So for you live streamers, we're talking about traveling to Israel. We wish we were going back right now. And I've been there, and it's amazing. I was there during Sukkot. And it was really neat to see all the sukkahs built all around the city. On the side of buildings, you'd have a sukkah out on a balcony. It was amazing. But but you probably saw what I saw. Jerusalem is full of everybody. Like you've got Catholics, you've got Jews, you've got Muslims, you've got a Muslim part of the old city. So it's all split up. Truly
And it
split
was
up.
different when I was there. We're talking about back in '86.
Oh wow.
And we went like around the Arab areas, and we had Arabs were throwing stones at us
Oh wow.
because they knew the Americans kind of favored the Jewish people. And
Mhm.
so it was it was different.
And you know what's interesting is reading scripture and having been there, it really brings that land to life. So, okay, so we're going to get into our Torah portion now. So we're starting in Genesis 25, verse 19. Do we have any questions or comments before we get in here? Guys, we're going to be going over the generations of Abraham, of Isaac. We're going to see the birth of the twins. We're going to see how they struggled in Rebecca's womb. We are going to, it's going to be a really full portion. I don't know where my notes went. Sean, did you get my notes? And the trail of the blessing, that's going to be interesting. And the selling of the birthright. So we've already talked about that. We were going to have lentil soup today, but we didn't. Everything good? Everything's good. Everything's good. Okay, let's start in Genesis 25. And here we go. 25:19, yes, sir. And this is the genealogy of Yishak, Abraham's son. Abraham brought forth Yishak. And Yishak was 40 years old when he took Ribkah as wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean, there you have it, of Padam Aram, and the sister of Laban, the Aramean. And guys, listen, she was barren for 20 years, but I also, and Valerie and I had discussed this before, when you go to the book of Yashar, what you see is that Ribkah was very young when Eliezer brought her back. And so the promise of marriage is what you see between she and Yishak. Yishak was 40, and Ribkah at this time was about 10, okay? So they didn't consummate a marriage at this point. It was waited. They waited. But what you have to understand is that the marriage promise, the promise of marriage, could be 5-10 years before the actual consummation, okay? So he basically raised her up. How would you like to raise your wife? Yeah. Oh wait. You are.
No comment.
I'm
so
kidding.
Armenian
Just raise me.
is the homeland of them.
It's
why they
Haran.
went back. And
It's Haran,
and
yes.
So you say today that's where they're
It's
really
Babylon.
from.
It's Babylon.
Oh.
That's where this is. It's in Babylon. That's where Nebuchadnezzar was. They left Babylon and went to Haran, which was just outside of Babylon. So this is where it is. Padam Haram.
Is that in Iraq?
It is.
The Persian Empire? Really?
So it's really fascinating. Okay. And Yishak prayed to Yahweh for his wife because she was barren, and Yahweh answered his prayer, and Ribkah, his wife, conceived. Now, we're going to be going back and forth for you live streamers. We are going to be going back and forth between the book of Yashar and the scriptures to get the fullness of the story. So in Yashar, we're going to chapter 26. And for some of you, you've got this book. And I apologize, live streamers, because I didn't realize when I held up a book, it was backwards to y'all. I just discovered that. So I should be going back and looking at our videos, right? See what's going on there. So this is the book of Yashar, and you can't see it, but it is the book of Enoch, Jubilees, and Yashar by Joseph Lumpkin. There are several other books out there. They're very, very similar. There's a Rutherford, and there's one more book.
Separate.
I think Platt. And we also are using at Sefer, the Divine Book, and it is by Dr. Stephen Pidgeon. So,
You want to show it?
no, it doesn't help to hold it up because I can't read it because it's
hold it.
backwards. Okay, so we are in Yashar, the book of Yashar, and we are in chapter 26. And we're starting in verse 1. So in the 59th year of the life of Ishak, the son of Abraham, Ribkah, his wife, was still unable to conceive in those days. And Rebekah said to Isaac, "Truly I have heard, my lord, that your mother Sarah was unable to conceive in her days until my lord Abraham, your father, prayed for her, and she conceived by him." Now at this point, Yishak is 59 years old, and Ribkah is now 29, okay? Now therefore stand up, you also pray to Yahweh, and he will hear your prayer and will remember us through his mercies. And Yishak answered his wife Rivkah, saying, Abraham has already prayed for me to Yahweh to reproduce his descendants. Now, therefore, this barrenness must proceed to us from you. So what he knows is his father has already prayed over him. So more than likely it is Rivkah, and that's what he's saying. So Rebekah said to him, But arise now, you also, and pray that the Lord may hear your prayer and grant me children. And Yishak listened to the words of his wife. What a wise man. Right?
Yep.
Very.
Oh.
Very wise.
And Yishak and his wife rose up and went to the land of Moriah to pray there and to seek the Lord. And when they had reached that place, Yishak stood up and prayed to the Lord on account of his wife, because she was unable to conceive. Where did they go, guys?
Mount Moriah.
Mount Moriah. Why did they go there?
This is a holy place.
It's very holy. And what Yishak knew is this is the place his dad had carried him to offer him up. So he went back. He was like, I know y'all's there. So they went back there. I know y'all's going to hear me there, because he heard my daddy. Okay? And Yishak said, Oh Elohim Adonai of heaven and earth, whose goodness and mercies fill the earth, you who did take my father and his father's house and from his birthplace and brought him to this land, and did say to him, to your descendants I will give the land, and you did promise him and did declare to him, I will reproduce your descendants as the stars of heaven and as the sand of sea. And now may your words be verified, which you did speak to my father. He's reminding.
Exactly.
You know, guys, it doesn't hurt to remind y'all.
The word says for us to
Yes.
remind him of what he said.
That's what Abraham does. That's what Yishak does. He goes, remember what you told my father? You're going to make his seeds like the stars of the heaven, like the sand on the seashore. So he's reminding him.
And it's not so much that
He didn't
God
need
doesn't
reminding.
know, he doesn't need to remind, but it's that he sees that we are that we know it and we're believing it. When we speak it, we believe it.
What does it say in the Brit Hadashah? We have not
Because we ask him.
because we ask not. Okay? Y'all's got everything that you could possibly want up there, but guess what? He wants you to request it. Right? So we have not because we ask not. So she said, you ask for me. So they went to Mount Moriah and he asked for her. And he's reminding y'all of his promise.
And Yishak was following him,
Yes.
obeying him.
For you are the Elohim, our Adonai. Our eyes are towards you to give us descendants of men, as you did promise us. For you are Adonai, our Elohim, and our eyes are directed towards you only. Guys, we all should just be looking at him only. What would we do today? Instead of going to Yah, what would we do?
Go to the doctor.
We go to the doctor. Hey, you know what? We can take care of this. We can build this wall ourselves, right? We can solve this problem ourselves. You can artificially inseminate now. Is that y'all's plan? No, I don't think it is. And for a lot of people, they've had to resort to that. But guys, listen, there are a lot of babies out there that need a mama and a daddy who love them and really want them. So, a designer baby you can have today.
Yeah.
Okay, we're in verse 8. And the Lord heard the prayer of Isaac, the son of Abraham. The Lord was entreated of him. He was being pleaded by Isaac, and he listened to him. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. And in about 7 months, after the children struggled together within her, it pained her greatly, and she was wearied on account of them. And she said to all the women who were in the land, did such a thing happen to you as has happened to me? And they said, no. And she said to them, why am I alone in this among all the women that were on earth? And she went to the land of Moriah to seek the Lord on account. I'm going to stop here because when we get a little bit further along, I want to read you this part because it gives you a little bit deeper understanding of what took place, and we may be getting to it right now. Okay, so we're in Genesis 25, and we're in verse 22. So we're back in Scriptures. And so we're 7 months later, about 7 months later when this happens, and within her the children struggled together, and she said, if all is all right, if all is right, why am I this way? So she went to ask Yahweh, and Yahweh said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples shall be separated from your body, and 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older serve the younger. And when the days were for so easy for y'all to say, were fulfilled for her to give birth, see, twins were in her womb. So I want us to see the Yasher portion of this, which is right here where we stopped. So we're in verse 10 of chapter 26. And she went to the land of Moriah to seek the Lord on account of this. And she went to Shem and to Eber, his son, to make inquiries of them in this matter, that they should seek the Lord in this thing respecting her. So where did Isaac spend time? With Shem. He spent about 3 years after the offering up or the binding of Isaac. He went almost immediately and spent time with Shem and Eber. No, it's in Jerusalem.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it is. So that's why I wanted to read to you what was given to Shem and Ham and Japheth, because Shem actually has. Who is Shem?
Son of
Noah's
Noah.
son.
Noah.
Okay, what was he?
Melchizedek.
He was a Melchizedek. He was a high priest of Jerusalem. He was also the king of Jerusalem. He is a Melchizedek that met Abraham. He came down out of Salem, which is Jerusalem. He came down out of Salem and met Abraham when Abraham came back from his conquest, right? Mm-hmm. He was a Melchizedek. So Shem is in Jerusalem. He's in the holy city, and he's the high priest. He's the high priest, guys. Was he of the lineage of Levi?
No.
No, because Levi hadn't even been born yet, right?
And it's a shadow of Yeshua.
It
It's
is.
the spiritual part rather
Yes.
than Levi the.
But
It's
Levi
physical.
is a descendant of Shem.
Mm-hmm.
But Levi is.
Levi is a descendant of Shem.
Right.
You're right. Thank you, Jerome. Okay. In 11, she also asked Abraham to seek and inquire of the Lord about all that had befallen her. So she's going to her father-in-law, she's going to Shem, she's going to Eber, and they all of them inquired of the Lord concerning this matter. And they brought her word from the Lord and told her, 2 children are in your womb, and 2 nations shall rise from them. One nation shall be stronger than the other, and the greater shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were completed, she knelt down, and behold, there were twins in her womb, as the Lord had spoken to her. So, do you see the rest of the story? It sounds like she personally went to, hello, Miss Eunice Young. How are you?
I'm fine.
Are you going to sit down and join us?
Yes.
Awesome. Would you like some coffee?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So, Seth does have your keys. And you look very pretty, might I add. Your hair looks really nice. Seth, do you know where the keys are? Okay. So, sorry about that, live streamers. This is a problem with live streaming. We never know all the surprises we're going to have. So we see that she actually went to Shem and Eber and Abraham, her father-in-law, to get all this information,
She
right?
went to men of Yahuwah
She went to the men of Yah.
to seek wise counsel, and that's what it tells us in Proverbs to do.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. The righteous man.
Mm-hmm.
So we are now in verse 25 of chapter 25. So we're 25 of Genesis.
Sorry, 26.
25. We're in 25 of the scriptures. Okay, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and so they called his name Esau. And Esau means what? Hairy and red. Hairy and rough.
Hey, man.
Hairy man. So, and it also can be rough. So he's hairy, rough looking. And afterward, his brother came out with his hand holding on to Esau's heel. So his name was called Yaakov. And Yishak was 60 years old when she bore them. So Ribkah was 30. Rebecca was 30. Yishak is 60. And guys, this is a precursor. This is a shadow, a type and shadow of Yeshua. 6 days. 6 days we wait. In the 7th day, he's coming. We in the 7th day. Where are we? Millennial reign, right? And that's what Scripture tells us. Okay, we're in verse 27. And the boys grew up, and Esau became a man knowing how to hunt, a man of the field, while Yaakov was a complete man dwelling in tents. What is he talking about here? What does it mean he was complete?
Solid.
Yeah, y'all.
There you go, with your mouth full of food. Shame on you. My stomach's over here growling. He was studying, because what we're going to see in a little bit is Isaac spent 32 years with his great uncle Shem. Is that not cool? Our grandfather. Is he grandfather or uncle? Great grandfather. So Yaakov is learned, and you're going to see why it says that Esau he was a man of the field, and he was a hunter. Okay, and Yishak loved Esau because he ate of his wild game, but Rivkah loved Yaakov. And Yaakov cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. And Esau said to Yaakov, "Please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary." And this is why his name was called Edom. But Yaakov said, "Sell me your birthright today." And Esau said, "Look, I'm going to die, so why should I have birthright?" And then Yaakov said, "Swear to me today." And he swore to him and sold his birthright to Yaakov. Okay, y'all want to hear the rest of the story? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go to Yasher, and we're going to chapter 27. And this is really pretty cool. Yasher. Yes, sir. Okay, we're in Yasher, and we're in verse 1 of Yasher, and my notes have gotten so scribbled over. Okay, Esau at that time, after the death of Abraham, frequently went to the field to hunt. And Nimrod, king of Babel, the same was Amraphel, also frequently went with his mighty men to hunt in the field, and to walk about with his men in the cool of the day. Okay, Nimrod is pretty old by this point. Who is Nimrod?
He's the king of Babylon.
Whose son is he? Ham. So Ham is his dad. So Esau comes from Shem's side, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got relatives out there. And was Nimrod also a mighty hunter?
Yes.
Okay. So Nimrod was observing Esau all those days, for jealousy was formed in the heart of Nimrod against Esau. Probably jealous over, he got a bigger deer than me, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they were both great hunters, right? On a certain day, competition. He could probably see a lot of himself in Esau, because they are a lot alike. On a certain day, Esau went into the field to hunt and found Nimrod walking in the wilderness with his 2 men. All his mighty men and his people were with him in the wilderness, but they kept at a distance. They went from him in a different direction to hunt, and Esau concealed himself from Nimrod, and he lurked for him in the wilderness. And Nimrod and his men that were with him did not know him. Nimrod and his men frequently walked about in the field at the cool of the day, and to know where his men were hunting in the field. Nimrod and 2 of his men that were with him came to the place where they were, when Esau appeared suddenly from his lurking place, drew his sword, and hurriedly ran to Nimrod and cut off his head.
Wow.
Now, who is Nimrod?
He's king.
He's a king.
But did you think Esau knew that was Nimrod?
He knew who he was.
Okay.
I mean, he's a king, and they're living in this area. What? Jerome's looking at me like,
Yes, I don't know what was going through his head for him.
but like crazy boy. I mean, what are they going to do? Listen, he's like the president of the United States, okay? What's going to happen? All the president's men are going to try to track you down, and guess what's going to happen when they find you?
You're gonna die.
You're going to be so sorry you did that.
Yeah.
So Esau knows. What does he know? My life's in danger. Okay, so Esau fought a desperate fight with the 2 men that were there with Nimrod, and when they called out to him, Esau turned to them and struck them to death with his sword. All the mighty men of Nimrod who had left him to go to the wilderness heard the cry at a distance, and they knew the voices of those 2 men, and they ran to know the cause of it, and they found their king and the 2 men that were with him lying dead in the wilderness. So they just killed the president and 2 of his CIA guys, his secret service. When Esau saw the mighty men of Nimrod coming at a distance, he fled and thereby escaped. And Esau took the valuable garments of Nimrod, which Nimrod's father had bequeathed to Nimrod, in which Nimrod prevailed over the whole land. He ran and concealed them in his house. Okay, just a refresher for those of you who were not here during the Yasher reading. When Ham came off of the boat, the ark, the ship, What did he take?
He had the
The
rod.
garments of Adam and Eve.
He stole the clothing of Adam and Eve.
Oh, yeah.
He stole that from his dad Noah, and he concealed it. And Nimrod was his favorite son, and what did he do? He gave him those clothes, right? And what we, huh? No.
Oh, is that
The
it? I'm
the clothing that that
manskin.
Yahweh made.
Okay.
Remember a couple of weeks ago in the book of Adam and Eve, we saw where Yahweh made them skins. He had the angels sew them, magically sew them, really. It was these skins that Noah had possession of, and he took those on the ark. Listen, he took the book of Enoch on the ark. How do you think all this stuff survived? He took everything that was important onto the ark to preserve it. He probably took the book of Job, because Job was before all this. So all of this went on the ark with him.
And probably Shem had all of this too, since he was following.
Yeah, he didn't have the clothing, but he
No,
did have, yeah. He probably had
He had
everything
the
else.
house, the-
Yes. So he just stole those valuable clothes. When Nimrod would wear these clothes, he would become very what? Powerful. That's it. So power came with these clothes. Okay, and we're still in the book of Yashar, chapter 27 and verse 11.
Well, Vicki, that shows we should be wearing this. You know, that's where our power comes from. The
Sheep's
Torah.
clothing.
The Torah.
Yes.
Really,
Yes.
it's our
Torah of Elohim, it's our
Armor.
armor.
Yeah.
It is our armor.
So that's kind of a reflection of that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But guys, listen, is it going to work the same on someone who's not righteous?
No.
Nope.
No. Okay, Esau took these garments and ran into the city on account of Nimrod's men. And he came to his house wearied and exhausted from the fight. And he was ready to die through grief when he approached his brother Yaakov and sat before him. And he said to his brother Yaakov, "Before I die this day, wherefore then do I want the birthright?" He's like, my birthright doesn't mean anything to me this day because I'm about to die.
That makes sense. Why? I mean,
Yes.
just going out and hunting. Why
Yeah.
would that cause you to feel like you were going to die?
Yeah, he was hunting
When
me.
Nimrod-
He gave the very idea to his brother to begin with, you know. So
Yes. Yes.
But Nimrod wore the clothing when he was righteous, probably. I mean, you know,
Yes.
at one time he was.
Oh, you know what? That's true because at one point it said that Nimrod really
Yes, it
was a
did.
man after Yah's heart,
Yeah,
and then he turned dark.
he got
Yeah.
prideful.
He got very prideful, and prideful.
Leads to all of this kind of jealousy. all
That's
that
it.
stuff.
That's it.
That's why he's jealous for Esau.
That's it. Okay, and so I'm gonna start at 12. And he said to his brother Yaakov, "Behold, I shall die this day because I just killed the president and his secret service guys, and they're hunting for me. Wherefore then do I want the birthright?" And Yaakov acted wisely with Esau in this matter, and Esau sold his birthright to Yaakov, for it was so much about the Lord. It was brought about by the Lord. So Yahweh set this up, guys.
Yep.
He set it up. Esau's portion in the cave, listen, I want you to listen to this because later on, and I'll give you a little hint. Esau's portion in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham had bought from the children of Heth for the possession of a burial ground, Esau also sold this to Yaakov, and Yaakov bought all of this from his brother Esau for the value given. Later on, what we're going to see, and I'm just going to tell you about it right now, but when the boys go to bury their father, Yaakov, in this grave, guess who shows up?
Esau.
Esau, and there is a great battle that ensues, and Esau dies at this cave in the battle, actually by a deaf and dumb relative of Yaakov. Okay, in verse 14, Yaakov wrote all of this in a book, and he testified the same with witnesses and sealed it, and the book remained in the hands of Yaakov. He has proof that all of the birthrights,
Proper documentation.
he properly documented it. What do they say? Documents.
In the Sefer, it calls it a Sefer,
Book.
the book.
Yes, it is a sefer. It's his. Well, and the word sefer means what?
Book.
Book. Et sefer means what?
The man book.
The-
Divine book.
Yeah.
So sefer is the Hebrew word for book. So he wrote it in his book. He kept that close to him. But I want you to see that Esau really wasn't stupid. And listen, is there a difference between the birthright and the blessing?
Yes.
Yes. He was able to sell the birthright. and the
Excuse me.
no, go ahead.
Fly is attracted to me.
I,
That's my
I
club.
hope he stays back there.
Thank you. I'm sitting in
He's
your
traveled
way.
up here too.
Okay, so we are back in the Scriptures Bible, the ISR Scripture Bible, and we are in chapter 25, and we're fixing to finish 25. And we are in verse, Bonnie, where am I? Okay, we are in verse 31, I believe. But Yaakov said, sell me your birthright today. And Esau said, look, I'm going to die, so why should I have birthright? Then Yaakov said, swear to me today. And he swore to him and sold his birthright to Yaakov. Yaakov then gave Esau bread and stew of lentils, and he ate and drank and rose up and left. Thus Esau despised his birthright. And guys, listen, this is echoed in Hebrews 12. I want us to look at that really quick. Back here in Hebrews 12, this is echoed by the writer of Hebrews 12. And
Not there.
well, we're definitely going to wait for you, Seth, okay?
What, Hebrews 12,
It is Hebrews 12, and it's going to be 15 through 17.
1174, I think. No, 1176.
Oh, I'm in 11. Thank you.
Are we gonna be in 12?
No, we're in 12, but that's why I was like, I'm not finding my scripture verses here. Okay, in 15
Oh, what chapter?
of 12,
Oh, 12.
see to it that no one falls short of the favor of Elohim, that no root of bitterness springs up and causes trouble by which many become defiled. Lest there be someone who whores or profanes one like who? Esau. Boo. For a single meal sold his birthright. For you know that afterward, when he wished to inherit the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place for repentance, though he sought it with tears. So he regretted that, but it doesn't sound like he repented
I think he did regret it.
of anything that he did. Okay, so I wanted to show you that. I thought that was really
So he
interesting.
didn't think he was gonna need it.
That's right.
I mean,
But listen, if I thought I was going to die, and he's between probably 15 and 20 at this time. This is how old he is when this happens. If I thought I was going to die, would I sell everything I owned, everything precious to me for one bowl of lentil soup? Listen, they're not that good. I mean, they're good, but they're not that good, okay?
but it shows what,
Maria's, it's good, huh? You're wrong.
Unless you have Maria's lentils, and hers are that good.
but it shows what we'll do in our natural life
Uh-huh.
in an instant to get something just to satisfy this body, this
Yes.
physical being.
He was thinking physical and not spiritual, and that's exactly what he was
And
doing.
that's the way we should think about our soul.
That's right.
Turn.
Okay. Now we got onward. We're still in the scriptures. We're in chapter 26, 21, and verse 1. I'm not going to confuse you there. 26, verse 1. And there was a scarcity of food in the land, besides the first scarcity of food, which was in the days of Abraham. And Yishak went to Abimelech, sovereign of the Philistines, in Gerar.
Who was Abimelech's father?
Shem.
Okay, I thought it was, but I couldn't find him over there.
He's Shem's. Shem is his father. I think he's called. Of course,
It's another
Abimelech
name.
is called is the name of the king, because in Sally's saying no.
No, I was just amazed.
I looked it up yesterday.
Oh, you're going wow. Look, they're all kin.
It's amazing how you remember all these names.
I don't. I
I
don't.
mean, really, I know it's yours a study.
I
but
told you you would.
I'm like,
What
Go ahead.
was it? He looked it up.
Go ahead.
I can't remember to save my
It
life.
was
It's-
a funny name.
Archipaka or something like that.
Jerubbaal, actually.
Yeah,
no.
that's what it said.
Jerubbaal?
Uh-huh.
Yep, Jerubbaal.
That's what it said.
Oh, I've never read that.
Also called Jerubbaal.
Okay, I'll have to look at that. I'm gonna put that. Write that down for me, Bonnie.
Got it.
I've got my own secretary right here. She's gonna write it down for me, because I'm gonna look that up.
She
Because
has the pen.
oh, she's
Yeah.
okay.
Who was it?
So, okay,
She
so
does.
listen, guys. Who went to Abimelech the last time? Abraham, right?
Yep.
Okay. What does Ecclesiastes 1:9 say?
There's nothing different under the sun.
Everything, nothing
Everything
changes, right?
Yep.
Nothing changes. Let's look at we're going to quickly look at this. Jasher 28. I've got to replace these lights in here, huh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because I can see. Okay.
Yeah, I need to buy
Really?
it.
What, yes,
Okay,
that-
we're in 28:12, and the Lord caused Isaac to find favor in the sight of Abimelech and in the sight of all his subjects. And Abimelech acted well with Isaac, for Abimelech, listen, he remembered the oath and the covenant that existed between his father and Abraham. So Abimelech's father was Abimelech, and that wasn't their name, but it was a passed down name. So you're going to become the Pharaoh or the king, and it's not the Pharaoh, it's the king. So now you're Abimelech, right?
It's a
It's a
position name.
It is a title.
Title.
Okay, and Abimelech said to Isaac, behold, the whole earth is before you. Dwell wherever it may seem good in your sight until you shall return to your land. And Abimelech is really how it should be pronounced, because Melech is what? King, or
Melchizedek.
right? Yeah. So it's Abimelech. Abimelech gave Isaac fields and vineyards and the best part of the land of Gerar to sow and reap and eat the fruits of the ground until the days of the famine would have passed by. And Isaac sowed in that land and received 100-fold in the same year, and Yahweh blessed him. And the man became great, and he had possessions of flocks and possessions of herds and a great store of servants. He had everything he could possibly
Where's
want.
Gerar? Is it the land of Goshen?
Okay, well, Abimelech was over. Okay, so you know where the Gaza Strip is?
Right.
Okay, so Gerar is just a little bit below in that area.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like on the southwestern,
Okay.
kind of in that area.
Okay.
Okay, so I wanted you to see this. So we're in verse 3 of chapter 26. Sojourn in this land, and I shall be with you and bless you. And this is Yahweh. Let me start at 2. And Yahweh appeared to him and said, do not go down to Mitzrayim. Live in the land which I command you. Sojourn in this land, and I shall be with you. Listen, he's an Olah offering. Y'all know that. Isaac was an Olah offering. That's why he was bound. That's why he was offered up to Yah. He can never, ever leave the land of Israel. Then the sacrifice or the binding up would be defiled. Okay, so he can't leave. He's an Olah offering, and Yahweh appeared to him and he said, "Do not go down to Mitzrayim, because that would be leaving what? The promised land, the land of Israel.
Okay.
Live in the land which I command you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you, and I will bless you. For I give all these lands to you and your seed. And I shall establish the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. And I shall increase your seed like the stars of the heavens. And I shall give all these lands to your seed, and in your seed all the nations, all the
Gentiles.
Gentiles. Thank you, Valerie. Got so much help today, I don't know what to say. All the Gentiles, all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because Abraham obeyed my voice and guarded my charge, my commands, my laws, and it says Torot, but it's Torah Tai. It's all of my Torah, all of Yah's Torah. He obeyed all of it. And that's
That was
amazing.
because of Abraham.
It was because of Abraham. They're still feeding off of the blessings of Abraham. And guys, listen, what does the scripture say? The blessings of a righteous man go down to how many generations? Thousands.
About
Plural. It's plural. Thousands of generations. You want to bless your children. You want to bless your grandchildren. Your great-grandchildren? Well, I can't even think about that. Be righteous. Pursue righteousness. I've got a little fly up here.
Seth.
Hey, killer.
Yeah.
Hey, killer.
Get back on duty. That fly.
No, I'm not doing that again. I shoved him off into my purse last time. Okay. So but the curses, the curse of the unrighteous one, how many generations do the curses go down to? 3 or 4.
3 or 4 generations.
That's right. So the blessings far outweigh the curses. Okay. And where was that covenant made? Genesis 13, Genesis 17, Genesis 15. So it's a repetition of this covenant. Okay, we're in
Reminds us.
verse 6. Yeah, I do need light. And Yushak dwelt in Gerar, and when the men of the place asked about his wife and said, she is my sister. Guys, listen, she wasn't even close to being his sister. Now, for Abraham, he could say, she's my sister by another father or by another mother, but this is not, it's not even close to being his
cousin.
sister.
Kind of.
Yeah, a distant cousin. Yeah. For he was afraid, and he said, he thought, you know, if I say she's my wife, the men in this place are going to kill me for Ribka because she's so good looking. Wow, that a husband would say that about a wife, right? Yeah.
And young.
And oh yeah, she was young. Okay,
Things hadn't changed.
we are in 8. We are in 8. And it came to be when he had been there a long time that Abimelech, sovereign of the Philistines, looked through a window, and he watched and saw Yishak playing with Ribka his wife. So Abimelech called Yishak and said, see, truly she is your wife. So how could you say she is my sister? And Yishak said to him, because I said, lest I die on account of her. And Abimelech said, what is this you have done to us? One of the people had almost lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us. And Abimelech commanded all his people, saying, he who touches this man or his wife shall certainly be put to death. And Yishak sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold, and Yahweh blessed him. He's still in Israel, okay? At this point, he's still in Israel, right? And the man grew great and went forward until he became very great. And he came to have possessions of flocks and possessions of herds and a great body of servants. And the Philistines envied him. Guys, listen, anytime you're blessed, what happens? The Philistines envy you, right?
Yeah.
Always. There's always Philistines out there. It's always the same. Same thing that's going on in Israel today. Why is there so much bombing going on from the Gaza Strip? They want all the land.
They want it all.
And that wasn't even their land to begin with, right?
They don't care.
They don't care.
Yeah.
Did you, so Sally, did you see all the bombs? Did y'all go to Ashdod? No? It's
No,
amazing to see the bombs that they've launched from Gaza.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I imagine. I don't think I did.
You would have remembered. It's,
Yeah, I would have.
guys,
Yeah.
you know, it's easy for us to sit over here where we've never ever been bombed.
Yeah.
We've never been persecuted. We've never been had a strike on us over here. We sit over here in our safe, comfy little houses, and we judge. But Israel is bombed probably daily, and right now the bombs are really going off big time now. Okay, and the Philistines had stopped up all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father, and filled them with dirt. What is a well? It's living water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're throwing dirt on it.
It's life.
It's life. It literally it is life.
Mm-hmm.
And Abimelech said to Yishak, go away from us, for you are much mightier than we. So Yishak went from there and pitched his tent in the wadi, in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. And Yishak dug again the wells of water, which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father. For the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham, and he called them by the names which his father had called them. But when Yishak's servants dug in the wadi and found a well of running water there, the herdsmen of Gerar strove with Yishak's herdsmen, saying, the water's ours. And he called the name of the well Esek, which was contention. That's what that word means, because they strove with him. So they dug another well, and they strove over that one too, and he called its name Sitnah, which means hatred or enmity. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not strive over it. And he called its name Rehoboth, and said, for now Yahweh has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. Guys, listen, the battle and the fight over water is still going on in the Golan Heights. That water is precious. They need it for crops. They need it for
To
watering.
live.
They need it to live.
Israel has one of the biggest desalination plants in the world.
Oh,
Out
do
of
they?
southern water.
Wow, I did not know
They
that.
have what?
The biggest desalination.
Oh.
So it desalts it, so it's usable and drinkable.
Hmm.
So are they desalting the Dead Sea
I
waters?
think it's just Mediterranean.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was like, that'd be
Yeah.
pretty big machine.
Yeah, big process. Gosh.
It's right there.
Oh, no, I need to realize ours.
Sean.
Got it.
I'm Maria.
Get him.
Get him.
Sorry.
Coffee.
You might wanna check your, make sure
Yeah,
you break
check
that.
where
I
he
think
flew.
it's broken now.
I think you got him.
Bad boy.
Speakers are working.
Okay. Maybe they'll work now. Okay, we're in verse 24.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, 22.
I didn't mean to hit your thing like that hard.
No, that's okay. You were trying to help because he's really driving all of us.
Yeah.
Don't hit my phone
I
though.
wouldn't.
Look, there he is.
Driving us back.
He's over there again. He's
Here
You gotta wait for the right moment.
Give me that thing. I just
Fly.
He really needs to go snipe hunting.
I know it.
He's on
Yeah, we're
back,
gonna
too.
take you snipe hunting. That's a good idea.
Mom
Okay,
made it look like she wasn't even a good fly killer, but she kills the fly.
Mama's a fly killer, so I need to get Mama over here.
Yeah.
I think he's scared now. He sees that this weapon is in trustworthy hands. Okay, we are in
22.
chapter 26, verse 24. And Yahweh appeared to him in the same night and said, oh, we are in 23, I'm sorry. 22. Thank you, Bonnie. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not strive over it. And he called the name Rehoboth and said, for now Yahweh has made us room, and we shall be fruitful in the land. And from there he went up to Beersheba. And Yahweh appeared to him the same night and said, I am the Elohim of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you and shall bless you and increase your seed for my servant Abraham's sake. Again, we see it's for Abraham's sake, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you can look back over here on at you're in the Scripture Bible. Look back over here at verse 3. Actually, look at verse 5. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and guarded my charge, my commands, my laws, my Torah. Listen, does y'all change? Does our Father change?
No.
He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
I changed not.
You can back that up with scripture, Malachi 3:6.
Read it.
Okay.
Read Malachi 3:6, and we'll be in Malachi today, but not 3 and not 6.
And so Abraham set it up of what should be done. I mean,
He
the
gave
way-
us a perfect example. But listen, he followed the example of Noah. He also followed the example of Shem. Who
Right.
did Abraham spend, 50 years with?
Shem.
He grew up at Shem's
him.
knee. He grew up under Shem and learned everything that Shem taught. Shem, the Melchizedek, the high priest. Are you there?
Yes. It
Read.
says, for I am Yahuwah, I shall not change, and you, O sons of Jacob, shall not come into an end.
Ooh, I like that, because not only does it say that our Father Yah will not change, but the sons of Yaakov, the house of Israel,
Right.
will never end. It is forever, right?
And
Okay. So listen, if he doesn't change, and he says that he's going to bless Abraham because he is being obedient to he's guarding my charge, my commands, my laws, and my Torah. What does that mean? He still says it today, right? We are still to guard his Torah, his laws, his commands. They're still good today. Nothing's been done away with, boys and girls. Nothing. Go
well, you
through.
just said it. He said, I changed not. So
That's
he
it.
must mean from Genesis to Revelation that his word still stands.
Absolutely. So listen. Go through the New Testament. Go through the Brit Hadashah. Read everything except for Shaul, except for Paul's writings, and you're not going to see any place where it says that the law has been done away with. You see everything that says it's still in existence today.
And Paul doesn't even say that the Torah.
No, he doesn't.
It's the Talmud.
What Shaul is talking about? Listen, Shaul grew up at the knee of who? Gamaliel. What was Gamaliel? He was a teacher of Talmud, the Torah, the oral tradition. Everything that was written in the Talmud, the oral tradition laws, and it is big, and
And so
we
he
can't
was
keep
saying,
it.
that's been done away with
Yes, thank goodness.
But the Torah, he says, by no means.
by no means.
By no means. That's
Heaven-
right.
Heaven forbid.
He's like Oive, not the Torah. Okay, so we are in verse 25, and he built a slaughter place there and called on the name of Yahweh, and he pitched his tent there, and the servants of Yishak dug a well there. And Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzeth, one of his friends, and Pikal, the commander of his army. And guys, again, this isn't exactly like his dad. Listen. And Yushak said to them, "Why have you come to me, seeing you have hated me and have sent me away from you?" But they said, "We have clearly seen that Yahweh is with you." And we said, "Please, let there be an oath between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you do no evil to us, as we have not touched you, and as we have done only good towards you, and have sent you away in peace. You are now blessed by Yahweh." So they're saying that, what? Abraham is still doing amazing things, right? I want to be part of that, right?
Well,
I want some of that blessing.
they're seeing what Yahweh has done for them, the power. They're seeing
Yes.
that, and they're going something to it.
Guys, look at Genesis 21:21. Okay, and he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Mitzrayim, and this is talking about Ishmael. And it came to be at that time that Abimelech and Pikal, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, "Elohim is with you in all that you do. And now, swear to me by Elohim not to be untrue to me, to my offspring, or to my descendants. Do to me according to the loving commitment that I have done to you and to the land in which you have dwelt." Look at it. It's exactly the same. In fact, it's not Daddy Abimelech, right? It's his son, but he still has the same officers. He's bringing Pikal and the other. What was that?
Achusa.
Okay, Azuzu. That's it. He's bringing the exact same guys with him that his father brought to make a covenant with Abraham, and I think that's just amazing. I want us to look really quick at Yashar. And we're going to look at 28. And we're going to look at verse 1. In those days, after the death of Abraham, in that year, the Lord brought a heavy famine in the land. While the famine was raging in the land of Canaan, Isaac rose up to go down to Egypt on account of the famine.
Did you quit?
Boy, Faye.
Hey, he told you.
Did she get it?
She got me, okay?
He warned y'all.
Good job, Maria. You are fast, girl. You are fast.
Quiet.
Do not give her a gun. While the famine was raging in the land of Canaan, Isaac rose up to go down to Egypt on account of the famine, as his father Abraham did. And Yahweh appeared that night to Isaac and said to him, "Do not go down to Egypt, but rise and go to Gerar to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, and remain there till the famine shall cease." And Isaac rose up and went to Gerar as the Lord had commanded him, and he remained there a full year. And when Isaac came to Gerar, the people of the land saw that Rebekah his wife was of beautiful appearance. And the people of Gerar asked Isaac concerning his wife, and he said, "She's my sister." For he was afraid to say she was his wife, that the people of the land should kill him on account of her. The princes of Abimelech went and praised the woman to the king. Really, skip down to 12. This is really where I want to skip down to verse 12 in chapter 28. And the Lord caused Isaac to find favor in the sight of Abimelech, in the sight of all his subjects. And Abimelech acted well with Isaac, for Abimelech remembered the oath and the covenant that existed between his father Abraham and his father. Abimelech said to Isaac, "Have I already read this? I did, didn't I?" Basically it's the same thing. It's an echo of what we've already read
Yeah,
here.
read that, but it's an
Yeah, it's basically exactly the same.
So he honored that
Yes.
covenant that had been made.
He's honoring it, but not only that, they're making another covenant. It's what they're doing. So Abimelech has come back to Isaac, and he's saying, we want to make another covenant with you, between you and me, the sons of the men who made the covenant prior. Even though it was still good, even though they were both honoring it for their father's sakes, he wants to make the covenant direct with Isaac.
It's a renewed covenant.
It is a renewal of the covenant. Thank you. And it's the same covenant, isn't it? And it's not because the covenant was bad, but the parties changed, right?
Well, and sometimes you have to remind and, you know, go over it again.
Yes.
To know the full meaning of it.
That's it. That is it. And so we're in verse 30, and he made them a feast, and they ate and drank, which is always a sign what? Of sealing a covenant.
Yep.
So when we have a meal and we're making it coming into an agreement, that meal is sealing up the covenant. And what's served at that meal? Salt. Man, you're right on cue. So we've got the salt covenant that comes into play here, right? Okay.
And salt keeps it
Preserves.
preserved. That's what I'm trying to say.
Uh-huh.
So that's what seals it.
She's all excited over here. I like
Yeah,
that. Okay. We're in verse 31, and they rose early in the morning and swore an oath with one another. And Yishak let them go, and they departed from him in peace, which is good. Because, listen, we all want peace, right?
Amen.
And on the same day, listen, the same day that he made covenant with them and found peace, on that same day it came to be that the servants of Yishak came and informed him about the well which they had dug and said to him, we found water. So he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba. That's it. To this day. And when Esau was 40 years old, he took as wives, ooh, bad boy Esau.
Mm-hmm.
When Esau, boo, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Esau was 40 years old, he took his wives, Yehudith, the daughter of Beri, the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. Guys, listen. What does the Bible say about all these ites? Except for the Israelites.
Pagan.
Look at Deuteronomy 7.
It's a no-no. Can't marry them.
What part? Which one? Deuteronomy 7 what?
Hmm?
Deuteronomy 7 what?
We're getting started in 1.
Oh, one.
When Yahweh, your Elohim, brings you into the land which you go to possess, he shall also clear away many nations before you. The Hittites. Who did Esau marry?
Hittite.
A couple of Hittite women. So,
Bad choice.
so Yahweh is going to clear away the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. 7 nations greater and mightier than you. And when Yahweh your Elohim gives them over to you, you shall strike them just like that. Good job. And put them under the ban completely. Make no covenant with them and show them no favor. Listen, guys, make no covenant with them. Show them no favor. And then in 3, he says, and do not intermarry with them. You do not give your daughter to his son, and you do not take his daughter for your son. For he turns your sons away from following me to serve other mighty ones. Then the displeasure of Yahweh shall burn against you and promptly destroy you. But this is what you do to them. Break down their slaughter places. Smash their pillars. What are their pillars? Their pillars are a sign of a covenant with their little g gods. Their pagan gods. Cut down their ashram. Smash their pillars. Burn their carved images with fire. For you are what?
Set apart.
You're set apart. You are a set apart people to Yahweh, your Elohim, and your Elohim has chosen you to be a people for himself, a treasured possession above all the people on the face of the earth. Are we all born Israelite?
No.
No. But just like Ruth, do we get the ability to choose?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And then
We
we
can
can be grafted
choose.
in.
That's it.
As part of that.
That is it. So listen, I choose to be
It's a
Israel.
choice.
I choose to be Israel. How about you?
Yes, I choose.
Yes, we
Just
choose.
that.
Okay, so what has Esau done? He's 40 years old. He's married 2, not 1. He's married 2 Hittite women. Who else married foreign women?
Solomon.
Solomon, Shlomo. What happened to him?
Oh,
I mean, he married a lot of those women.
and brought in the things that we're talking about.
Everything that Yah says, smash them, burn them, tear them down, he built them on the Mount of Olives. In the valley between the Temple Mount and the Mount of Olives.
And he knew better.
He did know better, guys.
He was
But listen,
Choice.
if you've got that many foreign wives, what are they going to do?
They're gonna plot and kill you.
What are they going to do, Seth?
They're gonna take you over and just,
They're going to run you over.
you
They're
only
going
need one.
to listen. If you're
Bad enough.
if you're facing Yahweh, and you've got that many women trying to get your attention, what's it going to do? It's going to turn you away.
They're definitely gonna separate you from y'all.
Listen, in a literally a heartbeat.
Literally.
The heart beating after those women, okay? So, oh no. Guys, listen, we have got to keep the door shut because these things can come in. Like, they're
I'll put
taking
that
us
on
over here.
Where's that at? Is that part of your reading?
It is. This is a plague of Egypt. We're having flies. If the frogs come out, I'm out of here. I'm leaving.
I'm behind you.
If anyone hits me because of that fly, I'm going to come after y'all. Okay. Now, we are coming to chapter 27, verse 1. And go away. And guys, listen. It's going to talk here about Yishak being old and his eyes being too dim to see. Oldness doesn't necessarily mean blindness, right?
No.
This is spiritual, isn't it? What did we read in the previous chapter? He loved Esau. Why?
Because he's a hunter.
He was a hunter. Why did he love Esau? Because he was a hunter. Because he loved to
Hunt. Eat.
eat that wild game, right? I feel like we're playing
Well, that's why
charades.
Yeah.
Isn't that why he fell for the one that came through the door and fed him with this wild game and from the honey? And then Esau came in. It wasn't Esau though.
No, that's right. Well, Esau did come in the second time.
Yeah.
That was his
But-
brother though, right?
Well, the
brother,
first one was
Jacob.
the first one was Yaakov.
He
So we're
He
fixing.
wanted to kill him, so he had to stay out of the.
Well, we're fixing to get to that. You're spoiling the story for the live streamers.
Say something.
No.
I can. Y'all behave back there. Jerome, would you please? Just pop them on. No, I'm kidding. Okay. So here we go. 27, verse 1. And it came to be when Yishak was old and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called Esau, his elder son, and said to him, "My son." And he answered him, "Here I am." Hineni. We were going to sing that song today. Hineni. What does Hineni mean?
Here I
Dennis?
am.
I am.
Here I am. Here am I. That's right. Hineni. That's what we all should say when Yah is calling us. I do want us to stop for just a second. I want us to read. I missed something in the last part of 26. Look at Yashar 28, 18.
Yeah, sure.
28:18.
Yashar 28, 18 in the book of Yashar. Okay, at that time, and this is important, guys. This is really important. I want you to hear this because this is why Isaac was a complete man. At that time, Yaakov, excuse me. At that time, Isaac sent his younger son, Yaakov, to the house of Shem and Eber, and he learned the instructions of Elohim. Yaakov remained in the house of Shem and Eber for 32 years. Esau, his brother, did not go, for he was not willing to go. And he remained in his father's house in the land of Canaan. Esau was continually hunting in the fields to bring home what he could get, and so did Esau all the days. Listen,
He rather be hunting and studying.
he'd much rather be hunting than to study the instructions of Yahweh. He's like, no, I'm going to stay here with Daddy, with my Hittite wives, and hunt.
Is that not like us today?
Yeah, guys, we're fleshly. We are. We want to stay in our comfort zone. Staying with Mom and Dad are sometimes very comfortable, right?
Yep.
Okay, we're in 19. No, we're in 20. We're still in chapter 28 of Yashar. And Esau was a designing and deceitful man. Here we have a pretty good description of who he is. He was manipulative. He was deceitful. One who hunted after the hearts of men and inveigled them. That's a word that I don't know what it means.
I'll look it up.
Inveigled.
Okay.
He
Probably could be
enchanted.
red.
He inveigled them. And Esau was a valiant man in the field, and in the course of time, he went as usual to hunt and came as far as the field of Seir, the same as Edom. And he remained in the land of Seir, hunting in the field.
Vicky.
I know what inveigle means.
What?
It means to persuade, to do something by means of deception or flattery.
Okay, so
Oh.
he was deceptive. He was a finagler,
Manipulative.
a manipulative finagler with deceit. Nothing good can come from that, right?
Nope.
So y'all knew that
Yes.
before it happened and knew why it had to do with Jacob.
Yes. And so he remained in the land of Seir, hunting in the field 1 year and 4 months. But I'm going to ask you something. You got 2 kids. One goes off to college. The other stays home, taking care of daddy. And you know what? It's so much like the prodigal son.
Yep, that's exactly
Okay.
what I was just saying.
The prodigal son stayed there with dad. He helped him on the farm. He helped him with all the work. Yet the son that went off, now it's a different
Went a
thing
different
than
path.
Yaakov, because Yaakov is off with Shem and Eber.
Me too.
Me too. I thought you were fixing to hit me with that swatter again. But guys, who is your heart going to draw closer to? Probably
Yeah.
the one that's there with you. And so, who is Yishak drawing close to? Esau, because Esau's feeding him that game that he loves to eat, and he's growing old with Esau. 32 years he spends with Esau, while Sonny, Jacob, is off with Shem.
Distance makes the heart from fonder.
Absence does well. Yes,
Say
but
distance makes the heart from.
distance, justice,
No, distance.
distance
I mean,
makes the
if you
heart.
haven't seen somebody, well, you miss them, then you wears off, and then
Yeah,
it's with you too much. Oh, it's time to.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know.
Take it for granted.
But I mean, he tells us. I mean, he loves Esau, and Esau has stayed home. He is given the choice to go and study with Shem, and he says, I want to stay here. I want to hunt because it's what I like to do. It's what he's used to doing. Yes, sir.
No, no, he's.
Okay. Don't do that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, you
Well-
can't no stretching in here.
Esau was feeding Isaac food, the body, the physical.
Yes. Okay. Well, and really, let me go ahead and finish reading this because in Yasher, it's the last part of 28.
Yeah.
In 22, Esau there saw in the land of Seir the daughter of a man of Canaan, and her name was Jehudah, the daughter of Beri, son of Epher, from the families of Heth, the son of Canaan. Who's Canaan? Son of Ham.
Boo.
Who's been cursed? Canaan.
Boo.
Boo. Esau took her for a wife, and he came to her. 40 years old was Esau when he took her, and he brought her to Hebron, the land of his father's dwelling place, and he lived there. And it came to pass in those days, in the 110th year of the life of Isaac, that is in the 50th year of the life of Yaakov. In that year, Shem, the son of Noah, died, and Shem was 600 years old at his death. And when Shem died, Yaakov returned to his father to Hebron, which is in the land of Canaan. So literally, what do we see here? Yaakov was with Shem even up to the point of his death. So he stayed with him until he died. He may have been with him longer than that had he not died. And in the 56th year in the life of Yaakov, people came from Haran, and Rebekah was told concerning her brother Laban, the son of Bethuel. The wife of Laban was unable to conceive in those days and gave birth to no children, and also all his handmaids gave birth to none to him. And the Lord afterward remembered Adonai, the wife of Laban, and she conceived and gave birth to twin daughters. And Laban named his daughters. The elder he named Leah, and the name of the younger Rachel. And those people came and told these things to Rebekah, and Rebekah rejoiced greatly that Yahweh had visited her brother and that he had gotten children. So you see the setup, twins, lots of twins, 2 twins.
Yeah.
So we didn't know that, except that in the book of Yasher it tells us that there are twins there. And so when Yaakov goes to live with Laban, who does he marry? Leah, the older twin.
But he wanted Rachel.
He wanted
here
Rachel.
Here we have the seed again.
Mm-hmm.
Pay back.
A twin married twins. Amazing. Okay. So now we are back into the scriptures, and we're in chapter 27. In verse 2, thank you, Seth. And he said, okay, so we see Yishak was old, his eyes are dim. He called Esau, his elder son, and said to him, "My son." And he said, Hineni, here am I. And he said, see now, I'm old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please, take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go to the field and hunt wild game for me, and make me a tasty dish such as I love, and bring it to me to eat in order that my being does bless you before I die. And Rebekah, heard when Yishak spoke to Esau his son, and Esau went to a field to hunt and wild game and to bring it back. And Ribkah spoke to Yaakov her son, saying, see, I heard your father speak to Esau your brother, saying, bring me wild game and make me a tasty dish to eat, and bless you in the presence of Yahweh before my death. And now, my son, listen to my voice according to what I command you. Please go to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, and I make a tasty dish from them for your father, such as he loves. And you shall take it to your father, and he shall eat it, and so that he might bless you before his death. Guys, it sounds like Rebecca is being very deceitful, doesn't it?
Yeah, she said, yeah.
But listen, what does she already know? What did we read previously in the book of Yasher?
Told her that the younger, the
Already
older
has
would
the
serve the
birthright.
younger.
That's it. She heard the prophecy that was spoken through Shem and Eber, and who else? Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
She heard all 3 of these men tell her, there are 2 nations in your belly, in your womb. They are fighting with each other. And listen, they're still fighting today.
Yeah.
They're still fighting today. Edom is still fighting against us today. Edom is who?
Esau.
Iran?
It's Esau. Listen, it's the Muslim world.
Yeah.
It's the Islamic world is still fighting against who? The House of Israel, right? It's still going on today. It's still the same fight.
Is that Ishmael or Esau or all of them?
It's
Both of them?
Ishmael, it's Esau, and it's Abimelech. It's all of them. Okay.
Still
And
going on.
yes, so look at 25. Look at Genesis 25:23.
Where?
Genesis 25:23. So this is where I'm just going to show you, because what do? We back scripture with scripture, right? We're not going to just make up stuff. And Yahweh said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples are to be separated from your body, and 1 people shall be stronger, and the other, and the younger, and the older shall serve the younger.
Yahuwah said that to her.
That was your but it was actually spoken. Yahuwah said it through Eber, Shem, and Abraham.
But it says it said it to her.
Well, when we read it in Yasher, it said she went to them.
So
They spoke to her they spoke Yah's word to her. But
So Esau's descendants are the strong ones? Or?
no.
It says the 1 people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
And it could be. I mean, it's kind of confusing there. It could be that Esau's people are stronger. There probably more of them than there are us.
Well, they
1.8 billion.
You figure a mighty hunter. I mean, that's telling you Yaakov lived in tents, Esau was a mighty,
warrior.
he was more so one of the mighty men, I think.
Listen, what does our scriptures teach us? Love your neighbor as yourself. What does their scriptures teach them? Go kill them that aren't worshiping the same Allah that you're worshiping, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kill the infidels, right?
And the infidel is everyone but Muslim.
Yeah, there's the big Satan and the little Satan. The big Satan is America, and the little Satan is Israel. They don't like us. We're not their friends. My stomach's growling. I hope that's not on live stream. Okay. So I wanted you to see this is scriptural, and she's doing this. She is manipulating the situation because she knows the prophecy. Now, had she not done this, you know that Yahweh would have fixed it anyway. It would have happened.
She
But
did do beguilement, deceit.
she did do it through deceit. She did.
But he allowed
Which
it
is,
to.
he allowed it. Okay, and we are in back in scriptures in chapter 27, and we're in verse 11. And Yaakov said to Rivkah, his mother, see, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. What if my father touches me? Then I shall be like a deceiver in his eyes, and shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. But his mother said to him, let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go and get them for me. she's interceding. Listen, that's exactly what she's doing right now. She's like, I'll take that myself. I'm going to stand in the gap for you. You do what I'm telling you to do. And he went and he fetched them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made a tasty dish, such as his father loved. And Ribekah took the best garments of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Yaakov, her younger son. And she put the skins of the younger goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. And then she gave the tasty dish and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Yaakov. And he went to his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am. Who are you, my son? Okay, listen. Already he's like, yeah, who are you? I mean, because he's not recognizing the voice, right? And Yaakov said to his father, I'm Esau, your firstborn. Don't you think Isaac knows who his firstborn is? But he's trying to really establish, look, I am Esau. I'm your firstborn, remember? So he's trying to make sure. Hello, how are y'all? He said, I have done as you said to me. Please rise, sit, and eat my wild game so that your being might bless me. But Yishak said to his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yahweh, your Elohim, brought it to me. And then Yishak said to Yaakov, Please come near so that I feel you, my son, whether you are truly my son Esau or not. And Yaakov went near to Yishak, his father, and he felt him, and he said, The voice is the voice of Yaakov, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy, like his brother Esau's hands, and he blessed him. And he said, Are you truly my son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it near to me, and let me eat of my son's wild game, so that my being might bless you. So he brought it near to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Yishak said to him, Please come near and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his garments. And he blessed him and said, See, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field, which Yahweh has blessed. You know, he really wasn't convinced until he actually smelled the clothes that were actually Esau's, right? I mean, he was really needing to be convinced. And Elohim give you the dew of the heavens and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. And let peoples serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those cursing you, and blessed be those blessing you. And it came to be, as soon as Yishak had finished blessing Yaakov, and Yaakov had hardly left the presence of Yishak his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. Uh-oh. Not going to be good, eh? That was a sweet kiss. And he too had made a tasty dish and brought it to his father, and said to his father, Let my father rise and eat of his son's wild game, so that your being might bless me. And his father Yishak said to him, Who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. And then Yishak trembled exceedingly and said, Who was it then who hunted wild game and brought it to me? And I ate of it before you came, and I have blessed him. Yes, he is blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, Bless me too, O my father. And he said, My brother came with deceit and took your blessing. What does the name Yaakov mean? Heel grabber? Heel grabber, deceiver? It's a deceiver. I mean, it really, that's what it means. And Esau, was his name then called Yaakov? For he has caught me by the heel. These 2 times he took my birthright. And see, now he has taken my blessing. And he said, Have you not reserved a blessing for me? Then Yishak answered and said to Esau, See, I have made him your master, and all his brothers I have given to him, as servants. And I have sustained him with grain and with wine. What then shall I do for you, my son? I mean, he's given him everything, hadn't he? He gave everything to Yishak. And Esau said to his father, Have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, please, my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Yishak his father answered and said to him, See, your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth and of the dew of the heavens from above, and by your sword you are to live. And already he was living by the sword, right? Mm-hmm. By your sword you're going to live and serve your brother, and it shall be when you grow restless that you shall break his yoke from your neck. And Esau hated Yaakov because of the blessing which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning my father draw near. Then I'm going to kill my brother Yaakov. And the words of Esau, her older son, were reported to Ribkah. And she sent and called Yaakov, her younger son, and said to him, See, your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you to kill you. And now, my son, listen to my voice and rise. Flee to my brother Laban in Haran. So the first time he fled was because of what? The birthright. Mm-hmm. Okay. The birthright, and he didn't really flee. His father sent him.
Up there.
He sent him. So I used the wrong wording. But this time he's fleeing. He's fleeing to Laban, his mother's brother. And we read about Laban last week, right? Mm-hmm. And listen, he almost made it sound like, in 36, he made it sound like Yaakov had stolen the birthright. But did he?
No.
It was bought with a bowl of soup.
Because he said it's
right?
Yeah, he was over.
He sold it to him for a simple bowl of little bitty tiny pea-like lentils. Yep. What can you say? You sold it, and what does Yaakov have? He has a deed. He has a deed to all of the birthrights from his father and to the cave of Machpelah, the burial site. So she says, and now, my son, listen to my voice and rise and flee to my brother Laban in Haran and stay with him a few days until your brother's wrath turns away, until your brother's displeasure turns away from you and he forgets what you have done to him. And I shall send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved of both of you in one day? And Ribkah said to Yishak, I am disgusted with my life because of... Okay, so she's talking to Yishak, not to Yaakov right now. Mm-hmm. I am disgusted with my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Yaakov takes a wife from the daughters of Heth, like these who are the daughters of the land, what is my life to me? And Yishak called Yaakov and blessed him and commanded him and said to him, Do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. And go to Padam Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take a wife for yourself from there, and from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. And El Shaddai bless you, and make you fruitful, and increase you, and you shall become an assembly of peoples. So he's being blessed as well, right? He's going to be an assembly. He's going to be a nation of peoples, and give you the blessing of Abraham. Well, this is Isaac. And give you the blessing of Abraham to you and your seed with you, so that you inherit the land of your sojournings, which Elohim gave to Abraham. So Yishak sent Yaakov away, and he went to Padam Aram, to Laban, son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Ribkah, the mother of Yaakov and Esau. And Esau saw And Esau saw that Yishak had blessed Yaakov and sent him away to Padam Aram to take him a wife from there, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a command, saying, Do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. And that Yaakov had obeyed his father and his mother and had gone to Padam Haran. So Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan did not please his father Yishak. And Esau went to Ishmael and took Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Naboth, to be his wife, besides the wives he had. So listen, he intermarried with who? With Ham's daughters, right? Because the Canaanites came from Ham, right? And now he's intermarried with who? Ishmael. So you've got Ham, you've got Ishmael, and you've got Esau, which is Edom.
And we're told not to do that. I mean, we just read it in Deuteronomy. Not intermarry with the eyes.
Yes.
He did that.
And guys, listen. The man from the Esau, the Edomite, he has all these bloodlines right now, okay? he will be the descendant of Esau is a Roman, because you will see later on in the book of Yasher that Zepho, which was a descendant from Esau, Zepho ends up in Egypt as a captive of the house of Israel, the children of Israel, Yaakov. When he escapes, he goes to Cush, and when he leaves Cush from Africa, he goes to Chittim, and Chittim is Rome. Chittim's Rome, okay? And he ends up in Rome, very powerful, a leader, and I believe he becomes a king. What?
I'm just listening.
So, listen,
Very interesting.
huh?
That's extremely interesting.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Where did they go from? I mean, I know that we're here in America, but where did they go from wrong? Where did the bloodlines go from wrong?
Well, Esau is still in
Still
Rome.
there.
Who's the Catholic Church? Who says bow down to these idols and worship them? Who's there? Who was Ishmael? Ishmael was blessed. He had 12 sons, 12 princes. But were they pagan? Yes, very. Okay, and who was Ham?
Constantine?
Huh? Constantine is from their bloodline.
Really?
Yes.
And
So
look
was
what
Herod. Herod was an Edomite, but he married an Israelite woman, which made him acceptable to Israel. Okay? So we've got Edomites, but Rome is Edomite. Okay? So we need to remember that. Because in Daniel, I think it talks about the Edomite.
And the book of Jasher.
Huh?
And the book of Jasher.
Yes. But listen, if we limit ourselves to the 66 canon books,
Right.
you really limit your learning. Okay? You can see how we have to go, and I don't believe these
And
are
it lines
outside
up
scripture.
It lines up with the scripture.
Listen, if it doesn't line up with scripture, if this does not back what our Bible says, what our scripture Bible says, or any Bible, King James, I don't care if you're reading King James, if you're even the NIV, I don't care which one you're reading. If it doesn't line up with the gist of what the message is, we're not going to use it to study by, okay? So it does. And Yasher is mentioned twice in scriptures. In the book of Jubilees, listen, the book of Jubilees is amazing. So we're going to use them. We're gonna study the word to the fullest extent. And if you have a book that you're reading that has been found in the Dead Sea Scrolls that you have read and you see that it does not contradict scripture, bring it on, okay? Because what we're going to do next, because we'll finish up the first book of Adam and Eve today. Next week we're going to start with the book of Ezra, the fourth book of Ezra, and it's going to be exciting. We've already gone through it once, but listen, it was so deep and so wide.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to go back into it because it was amazing. Okay, I didn't mean to stop there, but we're supposed to stop there, aren't we?
Right. Yeah.
Perfect.
That's it.
Malachi.
Malachi.
Perfect. Now we go to Malachi, and so listen, I want you to remember who Edom is, who Rome is. Okay, as we're going through the book of Malachi. So we're going to Malachi
It is
1:1.
6:45.
6:45. To those of you who already know where we're going, you already knew.
It is what it is.
Okay. Okay, this is a really good description of Esau that we're going to get from Malachi. Yes, sir.
Hurry. I'll stop.
But it's easier for them to hear.
Yeah,
Okay.
let me go ahead and read this
Yeah,
part,
I forgot. Gotcha.
if you don't mind, and later, maybe.
We'll see.
Okay. 1:1. The message of the word of Yahweh to Yisrael by Malachi. So this is to who? Israel. I have loved you, said Yahweh. But you ask, in what way have you loved us? Was not Esau Yaakov's brother, declares Yahweh? And I love Yaakov. But I have hated Esau and have laid waste his mountains and his inheritance for the jackals of the wilderness. If Edom says, we have been beaten down, let us return and build the ruins. Yahweh of hosts said thus, let them build, but I will tear it down. And they shall be called border of wrongness, and the people against whom Yahweh is enraged for how long? Forever. Because why? Listen, Yahweh knows the heart of Esau, does he not?
Yep.
Okay. And your eyes shall see, and you shall say, great is Yahweh beyond the border of Israel. Look, where are we? We're beyond the border of Israel, are we not?
Yep.
Here we are in America. The son esteems his father, and a servant his master. And if I am the father, where is my esteem? And if I am a master, where is my fear? Said Yahweh of hosts to you priest. Listen to this. You priests who despise my name. These are the priests. He's talking to the priests. You priests who despise my name, but you ask, in what way have we despised your name? You are presenting defiled food on my slaughter place. But you ask, in what way have we defiled you? Because you say the table of Yahweh is despicable. And when you present the blind as a slaughtering, what did Cain do? It's the same thing that Esau's doing here, right? Cain's heart, and did we see this last week, or we haven't gotten into it yet. So I get confused as to what I've studied and what we've taught. Okay, so Cain's heart was not in giving a good offering, right? Neither is Esau's.
Not the best.
He's not going to bring the best. He's going to bring. He looks at his flock and he goes, "Oh, look at that one back there. He's lame, and I think he's blind because he's running into everything. That's going to be my slaughter offering." Okay, so the poorest, the worst, not the best. It's the worst. He's picking out the ones that need to be culled anyway, right?
And that's what we give of ourselves.
Sadly, that is what we give of ourselves. You know, if I have some time left over tomorrow, I'm going to spend it with Yahweh.
He wants it first.
Listen, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and spend the first of the hours with Yah.
Right.
Don't give him the end of the day when you're exhausted. Spend when you're perky, when you're alert, except for maybe Sean. I bet Sean's not perky in the morning. When you're alert and you're ready to roll, spend that time with Yah, learning and studying His Word. Okay, so and when you present the blind as a slaughtering, is it not evil? And when you present the lame and sick, is it not evil? Bring it then to your governor. Ooh, take it to the president. Would he like it? How would you like it if mom gave you a puppy and it only had one eye?
Wait, what?
Huh? It only had one eye.
I got a one eye puppy.
Oh,
Did your mama give it to you?
I really wish you had one.
Maria.
One eye and 3 legs.
Archibaldo
Yeah.
is a Pekingese.
She gave him to you, didn't she? Mama gave him a one-eyed puppy.
My daughter's youngest daughter dog.
Oh.
But I wanted for her because that's a sweet little dog.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm taking all that back. But let me ask you this: Would you give the president of the United States? Would you give the creator of the universe a lame critter with all 4 legs, but just can't walk properly? Okay, so guys, we're supposed to give him the best, the first, the
Give him our
10%, our best, our first of everything.
Because if you don't, you're more than likely not going to do anything. Because it just,
You're stuck.
Listen,
Yeah.
listen. I think
Become greedy.
Yeah.
he would rather you not do anything than to put bring him the worst of what you
I
have.
think so too.
He would rather you be what, hot or cold than lukewarm, right?
Double-minded.
Double-minded. Ooh, that was a good prayer this morning too,
Stable in all
Seth.
his ways.
Yes, yes. Okay, he said, so go give that sick, lame offering to your governor. He said, would he be pleased with you? Would he accept you favorably? Said Yahweh of hosts. I'm going to say probably what? Not. And now, entreat the face of El to show favor to us. This has been done by your hands. Would he show favor to you? Said Yahweh of hosts. Who among you who would shut the doors so that you would not kindle the fire on my slaughter place for naught? I have no pleasure in you, said Yahweh of hosts, nor do I accept an offering from your hands. For from the rising of the sun, even its going down, my name is great among nations. And in every place incense is presented in my name, and a clean offering, for my name is great among nations, said Yahweh of hosts. But you are profaning me in that you say the table of Yahweh is defiled, and its fruit, its foods, is despicable. And you said, oh, what weariness. And you sneered at it, said Yahweh of hosts. And you brought in plunder, and the lame and the sick. Thus you have brought in the offering. Should I accept this from your hand, said Yahweh? But cursed be the deceiver, who has a male in his flock and makes a vow, but is slaughtering to Yahweh what is blemished. For I am a great sovereign, said Yahweh of hosts, and my name is feared among nations. He's really going, this is about the deceiver, the one who says, I'm giving you the best of what I got, and is not. Who was Esau? What did it say about him, Seth? You read it, Malachi 3? What did that say?
Y'all never changes.
Okay,
But
that
it
wasn't
says,
clear.
I shall
Because I
not.
am Yahweh, I never change.
Okay, wait, that wasn't the verse. In the verse you read about,
Oh, the son of Jacob. I
The-
got you. It's the same one. It says, For I am Yahuwah, I shall not change, and you, O sons of Jacob, shall not come to an end.
okay, who read the scripture verse about the deceiver? About, what does that word mean?
What?
Inveigled.
Inveigled, persuasion, like manipulator.
A manipulator, a
Yep.
deceiver.
Yep, somebody
So
deceived.
if you're inveigled, you've been manipulated.
Inveigled.
Ooh, I don't want to be inveigled.
Don't be an inveigled.
And I don't want to be an inveigler.
And Vicky, it was, it
A
says
smeagol was an inveigler.
somewhere he hated Jacob, but he hated his spirit, what he stood for.
He didn't hate Yaakov. He hated
No,
Esau.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Esau.
Okay.
Esau.
He did call Yaakov a worm. They call new well hens worms too, don't they? So he said, my name is feared among nations, and now, O priest, this command is for you. If you do not hear, and if you do not take it to heart to give esteem to my name, said Yahweh of hosts, I shall send a curse upon you, and I shall curse your blessings, and indeed I have cursed them, because you do not take it to heart. See, I shall rebuke your seed and scatter dung before your faces, the dung of your festivals, and you shall be taken away with it. Listen, he's not going to take away their festivals, is he? But he's saying, if you're doing it the way you're giving me offerings, might as well, throw dung at it, right? And you shall know that I have sent this command to you as being my covenant with Levi, said Yahweh of hosts. And we are going all the way to 9. My covenant with him was life and peace, and I gave them to him to fear. And he feared me and stood in awe of my name. The Torah of truth was in his mouth. Who is the Torah of truth? Yeshua is the Torah of truth. So the Torah of truth was in his mouth. He was already speaking truth. He was speaking Yeshua. He was speaking the word. And unrighteousness was not found on his lips. He walked with me in peace and straightness and turned many away from crookedness. So not only did he walk in righteousness, he taught others to walk in righteousness. If he saw someone else walking crookedly, he helped them. He pulled them forward. That's what I see y'all doing. And guys, I love it because I see each one of you doing this with your friends, with the people around you. It's like you lift them up and you go, come on, you can do this. I'll walk with you. Yes, sir.
In Nehemiah 9:13, I'm just looking at the footnotes. It says, and you came down from Mount Sinai and spoke with them from the heavens and gave them straight right rulings and Torah of truth, good laws and commands, which is the Torah.
Yes, that's what he gave. And we still have them, guys. Nothing has changed.
He doesn't change. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Amen. And listen, guys, I want you to listen to me here. I am thankful that he does not change, because if he changed, then he is not going to keep his covenant, and there is no hope.
And there'll be division.
If we really believe that he's a father that's going to change his mind, we're in trouble. Yeah. We're all in a heap of trouble, because we all sin, we all fall short of his glory. Every one of us.
Right.
Daily, I fall short. Sometimes hourly. Yesterday, hourly, I fell short. Okay? So we repent and we go forward. For the lips of a priest should guard knowledge, and they seek the Torah from his mouth, for he is the messenger of Yahweh of hosts. This is what a priest should do. He should guard the knowledge. He should be speaking the Torah of truth. He should be speaking the laws and the commands of Yahweh, the instructions. He should be speaking the whole word, because the whole word is his Torah. The first 5 books is his Torah, right?
Yep.
But you have turned away from the way. You have caused many to stumble on the Torah, and you have corrupted the covenant of Levi, said Yahweh of hosts. So what did they do to the Torah? They distorted it. So, I mean, they twisted it. They what? What did they do to it? They added to it. I was looking for that.
And they made it the way they wanted it to be.
Made it fleshly and not spiritually.
They put loopholes all over it.
They put what?
Loopholes.
It has loopholes.
Just like the justice.
They made it bigger. They made it broader. They said you can't eat without clean hands. That's Talmudic. The only law that says you have to wash your hands before you eat, that's a priestly law.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a priest, yes, you better wash your hands. But if you're not a priest, you don't have to wash your hands.
But that's
now,
good.
it's good hygiene. Yes, you should. It's good hygiene. I don't want to eat with you if you didn't wash your hands before you cooked. But that's not a Torah law. It's not a commandment, ma'am.
But that's what the enemy does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he took what was the truth and he made it broader. And people buy into that because, if that's going to be even better.
Yes.
And it's not. It's not what he said.
It is not what he said.
He said, what I mean, and what I said, I mean.
What does Moses say about the law? It's easy. It's not too high that we have to send anyone into the heavens to bring it down. It's not so low that we have to send someone down to Sheol and bring it up. It's not across the sea. It's here. It's now. It's easy.
It's sweet.
It's sweet. It is what, Dennis? What is the Torah? Oh no! I'm getting a blank look.
It's instructions.
It's instructions. It blesses you.
It protects us.
It protects you.
Safe.
It is righteousness, and we guard to do all
Yes.
the commands.
Yes, in
Took the words out of his mouth.
that is perfect. In Deuteronomy 6:25, it is your righteousness
It is righteousness for
for
us.
us when we guard to do all he commands. That is for you. So you've got to have your righteousness, guys.
That's a
Listen,
definition.
that is. So listen, if you get to the kingdom gate and you don't have your righteousness, if you aren't beginning to look like Yeshua,
That's right.
he's not going to know you.
You're gonna die here instead of go.
He doesn't know you.
there.
He's not going to let you in. Yeah, he's going to say, who are you?
But-
oh,
but-
Lord,
but-
Lord, we
but-
prophesied in your name. I'm sorry, but this door is shut. This door is shut to you because you haven't been keeping my commandments. You haven't been keeping it. Listen, as we grow and we walk in Torah, as we walk in his commandments, what does it do? It changes us into who he is.
That's right.
And
So,
he never changes.
With every step we take, we should be looking more like who, Sean?
Yeshua.
Absolutely. We should be looking more and more like him. So by the time we get to the gate,
Shining that what?
Like,
what was that?
That light.
Oh no.
Nothing.
Are you gonna sing this little light of mine?
No,
Oh, I
no.
thought you were gonna
Oh, yeah.
entertain us for a second there. Okay. So guys, listen. The Torah is sweet to our lives, and we've got one more verse, and guess what? We get to go feed our stomachs. Yummy. And I shall make you despised and low before all the people, because you are not. Listen. Oh my goodness. You're not guarding my Torah. You're not guarding my ways. You're showing partiality in the Torah. You're twisting the Torah. And what does he say? He says, I'm going to read that again. I shall make you despised and low before all the people, because you are not guarding my ways and are showing partiality in the Torah. Guys, you don't want to be caught doing that, right? So,
Everybody wants, all these other places want to do the tithe, but they don't want to do the rest.
they want the tithing, right? Gimme.
You want your money.
And don't let it jingle, right? Isn't that what they say? Don't let it jingle. I want to hear some bills floating around. So, guys, listen. If it's all about the money, if it's all, huh?
We got one more. Matthew. I'll read it.
We found
Matthew 10.
Yeah, I think so.
Go ahead. 21 through 38. Can you read loud?
No problem. Yes, ma'am.
No, I was just making that. But
Matthew
Oh,
10,
thank you.
21 through 38.
So live streamers, we're going to Matthew 10, 26 through 38, 21 through 38.
Okay.
I made you look.
And brother shall deliver up brother to death, and a father his child, and children shall rise up against their parents. Against parents, and shall put them to death. And you shall be hated for all my name's sake. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved.
Wait, what? Wait, when does that salvation? When is salvation? You
To
who
the
have,
end.
you who endure. What does he say? What does even Shaul says? You endure. He says, "I walk out my salvation with what? Fear and trembling." And so he says right here, "You who endure to the end shall be saved."
And
So
it ain't to the end of the aisle making an altar call.
it's not the end of the aisle, guys. It's not an altar call. Listen, there's no point when we're walking on this earth when we know we're saved, right?
no.
We submit and we commit our lives to Yeshua, to Yah, to do and walk as He did, and then we walk it out. And that's the beginning. Walking that aisle, and I think that walking the aisle is fine, but walking that aisle is only the beginning.
It's making a commitment. It's a starting. It's a beginning.
It's saying
And
that
we
you're
get
deliverance.
deliverance from things in our lives.
Yes.
Toward being.
Let go
salvation.
of stuff, repenting from what you've done before, and then starting it and going on to the new.
Absolutely, and we had a big repentance this morning in our prayer room.
Big bonfire.
Yeah, big bonfire, of just throwing everything out there and burning it up. Okay, keep going.
All right. Yeah. And when they persecute you in this city, flee to another. For truly I say to you, you shall by no means have gone through the cities of Israel before the Son of Adam comes. A taught one is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master.
Okay, hold on just a second. When they persecute you in the city, flee to another. For truly I say to you, you shall by no means have gone through the cities of Israel. Okay, guys, listen. When He comes back, where is Israel? No,
Yeah.
not that. I'm not talking about the physical. Where's spiritual Israel right now?
All over the world.
Scattered.
He is scattered all over the world because the 10 tribes, when they went into captivity in Assyria, did they come back home? They went everywhere except back to Israel, right?
And there may be a few of them over there.
There are a few. There probably are a few there. But listen, the majority of Israel, we are scattered everywhere, everywhere, and not just the bloodlines, but those who have chosen to be called Israel. I choose to be called Israel. I want to be part of that covenanted people. Because listen, I don't see that the uncovenanted people are saved. Do you? Huh?
In the end.
In the end? Thank you.
Yeah, they-
Huh?
Being uncommon and being lukewarm.
That's it. That's it. Okay, keep it going.
It is it is enough for the taught one to become like his teacher, and a servant like his master. If they have called the master of the house of
Beelzebub.
Beelzebub, how much more of those of his household? Therefore do not fear them, for whatever is covered shall be revealed, and whatever is hidden shall be made known. For I say to you in the dark, speak in the light, and what you hear in the ear, proclaim on the housetops. And do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the being, but rather fear him, means Yahuwah, who is able to destroy the being and the body of Gehenna.
Okay, so that verse right there, the one that you ended at 28, do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the being. No one can kill the being itself except who? Our Heavenly Father. And listen, does He cast you into hell forever and ever? And do you burn forever? No, we serve a gracious Father. So in the end time, after the millennial reign, after the judgment seat, at the judgment seat, if He finds that you are lacking, what happens to you?
Burn up.
You burn up.
Poof.
You're cast into the fire and you go poof. Because He says here, He will kill your soul. The spirit will die. It's not going to be there forever and ever. So He's not going to punish anyone forever and ever except for who? him who deserves it. Hasatan, well, he deserves it. I think the beast.
He earned it.
And the beast is who?
Antichrist?
Is it Rome?
Oh.
I don't know. Maybe not. I got some looks. Okay.
I don't know.
So what did we learn today? We're all deceived, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And we're all
God-
deceivers.
Guys, listen, we've got Esau in a lot of our churches today. If you're hearing, go do whatever you want. You've repented. You're saved. Go do whatever you want. Listen, is there a place where you're saved for sure, and you don't have to worry about anything?
Yeah, when you die.
What does Yeshua say? He says, "If you stay in me, I will stay in you."
Yep.
A branch that doesn't stay in him, what does he do?
Falls off, gets withered away.
It's lobbed off. It's cast aside. It dries up, and what happens?
Burn.
Just burns up. So listen, a backslider, are they saved?
Nope.
Okay. Should they be scared?
Yep.
Okay.
Fear and trembling.
So, all right. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay. This has been fun. Fun for me. So now y'all understand where Canaan came from, right?
Yes.
And where Shechem,
Hmm?
where Shechem's at too.
Yeah, and yeah, everybody knows where Shittim is. So that could be an awful word. Okay, so live streamers, we want to thank y'all for joining us today. We've got a battery trying to die on us. We want to thank you for joining us today. This has been our Torah portion for this morning. We're going to break. We're going to go have a bite to eat and fellowship together, which I love to do with all my friends here. But this is my family. And what time is it, guys? 2:30. Okay, so around 3 o'clock we will come back and we will be live streaming the end. Listen to me. It is the end of our first book of Adam and Eve study. We're getting through it today, even if I have to speed read and skip some verses. So we want to thank you, bless you all. And Dennis, would you pray us out?
Abba, Father, we just love you and we thank you. We thank you for this, the word that you provided us, Father, our instructions. Father, it's just such a beautiful story. And we just ask that you open our ears and give us receiving hearts that we might take your word to heed, Father, and learn from it and live by it, Father, and be the people that you created us, your children, Father. Be your children. Be Israel, Father. We thank you for Vicky and we thank you for our live streamers. We just thank you and we love you in the precious name of Yeshua, I pray. Amen.
Amen and amen.
Amen.
Let's eat.
He's happy because he's
Hey, Kalul. There's our friend from Uganda. Waving to you. And I see John Davis. Hey. Bless y'all. And hope to see you in our afternoon class. Shalom.